It's episode 55 of the Hodgepodge podcast. I'm your host, Doug.
And I'm Dirty A. As the name suggests, we're going to talk about hodgepodge of topics from movies, music, TV, and other pop culture events. And our weekend, it's movies.
And on this episode, we're discussing a bunch of movies, including Whiplash, Rosewater, Horrible Bosses 2, and a small indie film called Hunger Games, Mockingjay, Part 1.
We'll see if that gets any traction.
It probably won't. I think it's going to fail.
Yeah.
Lots of movies to discuss today. But as has become our tradition as of late, we can discuss some movie news that's going on out there. The scuttlebutt right now is that the reveal of the first teaser for Star Wars Episode 7 is imminent. But the consensus seems to be that it's going to happen pretty much any week now, but
right now it's still napping.
Right, but nobody can nail down how they're going to do it.
There's rumors. Everyone's got a different idea of how it's going to come out. I saw where it's likely in front of
the
Hobbit.
And then I read something that said it won't debut with the Hobbit,
right.
but they want to do something quote unquote big with it. And what you have to remember is that Lucasfilm is owned by Disney now, so they could put it on with the Avengers like they did for with S.H.I.E.L.D. like they did for the Avengers, whatever the fuck that show's called.
You know.
There's another theory going around that they're going to debut it in like a limited number of theaters, which to me sounds stupid. I mean,
I saw like 1,000 theaters or something.
I saw it was like 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like 100 theaters.
God,
it's like, why would you do that?
That would be dumb.
Somebody posted, I think, a Collider, like, what the fuck? This isn't 1998. So it's like,
it's a teaser trailer.
Yeah, I know. And then, of course, there's a teaser trailer, quote unquote, rumored description floating around online. I'm one of those people that loved the Dark Knight teaser that he did about a year out, where it was just the logo and then the blue light behind it, and then it was just snippets of dialogue. But for Star Wars, considering the backlash that the prequels have endured, I think they do have to show at least some footage. They should at least show a little bit of footage.
They have to get people excited about the franchise again.
Yeah, they do. And I am excited for Star Wars. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the characters. Who's going to live? Who's going to die? Who are these new characters? As long as J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote the script, as long as they don't pull a Nintendo, and what I mean by that is, it's not just the same thing with just this new coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
As long as it furthers the story.
I get the impression that it does, but time will tell.
Yeah. And then another teaser for a teaser showed up today, and that was for a movie that not a lot of people are talking about yet. But the whole trailer will debut on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, and that's Jurassic World, the fourth Jurassic Park.
I mean, I love Jurassic Park, man. I'm looking forward to this one, but it just doesn't feel like a movie that requires a lot of individual attention at this point.
I would have to say that aside from Star Wars, it's probably the movie I'm most curious about.
Curious, yes, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that it's some big blockbuster.
Because Avengers, to me, almost feels like I'm excited for Avengers. It looks really, really good. But because they've slated 55 movies after it and whatever, it feels like it's almost like anticlimactic once you go see it. That's why Guardians of the Galaxy was so good, because it's like it takes place in that universe and they had a couple characters that you've seen before, but it was something fresh. It was something new. Whereas Avengers I almost feel like I already know what the game plan is for Avengers 2. It's just, I mean, there could be a twist. I'm sure there will be some twists in there that we're like, ooh. But I almost feel like I know what the game plan is. And then, of course, there's the Terminator movie coming out next year, which nobody gives a crap about because they already had a chance to reboot Terminator and they fucked it up.
The only thing it's got going for it is got Doctor Who in it.
See, I would say it's got Daenerys in it. Emilia Clarke. Yeah. She's hot.
She is hot.
She's hotter than Doctor Who.
I never claimed he was hot. He's a doctor.
Is he though? Is he really?
Well, not anymore. You're right.
Is he really a doctor? Is he a licensed and accredited?
I mean, I'm just looking forward to seeing Phil Collins on the screen again.
Phil Collins. God, I hate you.
Genesis.
Shut up.
Did there?
No. Shut up. Oh my God. What else is going on?
I mean, that's the big. Those are the
big movie news.
Big stuff going on.
TV news. Arrow and the Flash are going to meet. And then the fall finale. The fall finale of Gotham is coming. Oh God.
That show gets worse every day I watch it. I mean, some individual episodes are okay, but it hasn't found its grounding yet. It's they've now fucking moved Cat Kid into Wayne Manor. She's living there now. God, they almost kissed.
Yeah, I know.
As children. It's just a little too much for me. I'm really starting to hate it.
It's like watching Gotham. It's like every good step they take forward, they take 2 bad steps back, and I'm just like,
did you like it? Are you caught up now?
The last episode was Harvey Dent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the last episode.
So the episode before that, fucking Alfred lets Bruce just beat up on a kid, and then looks at the kid and says, "Now you're gonna, now you shut your mouth." What the fuck, man?
And then also on S.H.I.E.L.D., I haven't watched the latest episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I started watching the beginning of it, and I'm almost convinced that Kyle MacLachlan is still Agent Cooper. He's just possessed by Bob at this point. And now that will resolve itself. And then that'll lead into the Twin Peaks thing.
Twin Peaks and
Showtime. On Netflix.
Yeah.
Is it Showtime or Netflix? It's Showtime? Okay. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's really still Agent Cooper. Sure. That explains how he is Guy's father.
Yeah, I mean, it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is
it's better.
It's better.
It got pretty good after Captain America.
Yeah.
Once they were just kind of buying time until Captain America.
I think they were. Yeah, they found their true plot devices and stuff. Yeah. Post Cap. So.
Yeah, and like I said, Arrow and Flash are going to have a team up this week, so that's really interesting.
Oh, they're not teaming up.
Oh, dude.
They look from the trailers. It looks like they have a little scuffle, which I mentioned to you. I mean, come on.
Is it
Arrow is pretty cool, but the Flash would kick his ass because he has superpowers.
Is it a crisis? So you don't get that because you're in comic books.
But
But comic book nerds will get that.
Yes.
Jim McCann will get that.
Okay.
But anyway, and then obviously the other big news is that, but apparently it's not big news, is that the Hunger Games predictably won the box office for the weekend. However, it came in at a disappointing $123 million.
I wish it had just lived up to expectations.
I mean, what the fuck, people? $123 million.
And that's below your expectations.
They were predicting it was going to make $150 million. So I guess they're kind of sad about it. But I'm like, Gone Girl has been out since October, the first week in October, and it was like a box office champ. It was the big movie, right. And it's only made $157 million. So it's like,
do we know what the budget was?
I don't know. Games? But I mean, Hunger Games is going to top Gone Girl by Wednesday. So it's like, what is the problem?
Yeah, it'll easily.
It'll be the biggest movie.
It'll defeat Guardians. Heavily by the end of the year for sure.
So let's get into it then. Let's talk about Hunger Games.
Mockingjay,
Part 1. And that is the ultimate problem with this movie. It does not need to be a 2-part movie.
Well, I haven't read the book, and
I can tell you why.
I don't know the story, so I can't tell you if it needed to be a part 1 and part 2.
It doesn't. I didn't read the book either, and I can tell you right now it doesn't, because this trend was started by Warner Brothers a few years ago with Harry Potter, and they did the Deathly Hallows. They broke into 2 movies. That Harry Potter movie was. Let me see if I can.
Here's some news for you while you're looking that up. They're turning The Stand into 4 movies.
That's ridiculous. maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
I mean that deserves 2 because that is a really long story.
Long book.
But 4.
That book's like over 1,000 pages.
But 4.
Yeah, no. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was 759 pages. Mockingjay was 400. That's called a regular size novel.
Book, right?
So. This movie totally feels like the studio is just milking the audience. It's just all padding. It's just all biding time for the next movie. That doesn't mean this is a bad movie.
Right.
It was decent.
Yeah, it was.
But it's not. But when you're paying in some places $15 for a ticket, depending on where you live. Now I got to pay $30 to go see this stupid fucking movie when I should only been paying.
And it's just
15.
one story.
And it's just one story. Yeah. Basically, the movie picks up immediately after catching fire, and Katniss is with the rebels, and they want her to basically be their propaganda tool to make the other districts join
the rebellion.
The capital is using PETA as the same tool because he is a tool, and
which is not immediately known, I guess. There's that they try to create that suspense, like what's happened to PETA.
Yeah, but we
already know, we've already seen the trailers.
Right,
it's obvious.
Yeah,
he's one of the bigger stars. You
know. And that's basically it. And then and by the way, Katniss still can't figure out if she loves Gale or PETA, because who gives a shit? Yeah, Groot.
Because he's just a giant piece of wood.
He's a terrible actor.
He's a Liam Hemsworth. I will go on record.
Chris Hemsworth got all the acting talent in that
Liam Hemsworth is a terrible, terrible actor in everything he does. I was trying to...
Good looking kid. He should probably just go be a model, honestly.
He should be a model. I was talking... I don't remember who I was talking to about this.
It was probably me last year.
It was my friend that I went with to see. I was telling them, he's just the worst actor. I mean, I just... There's nothing he does on screen that looks good. They're like, well, that's kind of how Gale is. I'm like, no, this is... Then he's playing Gale in every role that he's ever been in.
Because we saw... What did we see? He was
the one with...
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He was terrible in that movie.
Called?
Paranoia. That made my worst of the summer that year, last year. He's not that good.
No.
I would say that Jennifer Lawrence isn't that good in this because... How do you get Katniss Everdeen? You take Jennifer Lawrence and then suck the life out of her. But then I say, now she is a really good actress because she's totally playing against type. Yeah. I mean, she's completely against type. But that's how you get Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah, her role here is she's very depressed. I mean, that's,
I think in the book, because the books are
even the big inspiring scenes where she's supposedly, I didn't really feel it. Yeah,
I think in the book, because all the books are told, the 3 books are told from her point of view, and it's like, if I recall correctly, it's like a first person point of view too. So you don't get a lot of the world building that you get from the movies, which is why I like the movies better than the books.
Cool. It makes it cool.
But I think one of the threads in that book is that she thinks she's going crazy and all this stuff. She's having a psychotic break or something like that. Because I don't know who I love, the Gaylors. Pete, oh my god. See, girls.
Spoiler alert.
See, girls.
It's yourself. Love yourself.
See, girls. No matter what they do with Katniss to make her seem like she's a do-it girl, she can do it. It still comes down to, which boy do I like? Right. Which boy do I like?
Yeah.
Hermione. Hermione is your role model.
Hey, I'm pretty sure a woman wrote the book, so.
Yeah, well apparently she's got a problem.
But, so I enjoyed the movies, at least in that it took it out of the Hunger Games arena.
Yeah, this was definitely
that. Finally, we get to see a little different aspect of the world.
Yeah,
and outside of the actual games and how the actual people are reacting to things that have happened. So it was, like you mentioned up front, it's a fine movie. There's nothing like overtly wrong with it. It follows the same dynamic as the other ones.
Yeah.
But this we get, it's a different tone.
It's definitely you definitely get to see the dystopia in this one, and it felt way more sci-fi than the other ones, because even though the Hunger Games themselves take place in like these arenas that are like high-tech arenas, it's still, you're in the woods, you're on a lagoon.
That's one of those things where I think the sci-fi aspect of that translated better in the book than on screen, as far as the arena goes.
Right, yeah.
From what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. This, because in this one you got a lot of flying in ships.
Yeah.
And that, like you mentioned, that dystopian future world where, everyone's underground and stuff.
Yeah, the world feels more lived in this one,
it's more worn down.
It was nice to see the politics in it. It's interesting. I mean,
Of dancing.
Yes, the politics of feeling good. The person I saw it with, our friend that I saw it with, was trying to explain to me that the movie left out a pertinent detail, I think, about Julianne Moore's character, President Coin. She's the leader of the rebels, and she was telling me how it's gonna turn the story and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, if the turn is that she's gonna basically stab Katniss in the back, I can see that coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
So I don't need this.
You already see, and I pointed this out to who I saw it to. You already see where Katniss is hesitant about this whole thing because
they're no better than the
president is running it just like Snow does.
Right. Yeah.
Coin is running their little society just like Coin or just like Snow is running the whole world or whatever. I mean, it's so you got two bad apples basically, or at least the one. Coin doesn't really know how to govern any differently.
Right. Yeah. So you can see that coming from a mile away. Yeah. The other thing about this one is like there's almost, I guess, except when Woody Harrelson has a couple lines, there's almost like little to no humor in this movie.
Very little. I mean, it's almost like he wasn't even funny, but he walks on screen and everyone in my theater was like, "Oh!" And I'm like, he didn't say or do anything. Yeah. He literally just walked out of the shadows.
Because like Stanley Tucci in the first two movies, he was like a breath of fresh air, and even he in this movie is like very subdued.
You know what? There were. I mean, I laughed a couple times. Like, that was definitely between Harrelson, who was almost non-existent in this one. He's very small role in this one. Yeah. But and Elizabeth Banks was really the comedy in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess.
She was
apparently her role's beefed up from the book.
Yeah, she was pretty funny.
But overall, it's just it's kind of biding time until
it's more of the same. It's more of the same. And it's. I mean, they chose a good place to cut it off if they were going to cut it. I mean, it worked as a story at least, but I seriously doubt there was need for two movies.
No, there really wasn't.
Fuck you, Hollywood, for coming up with this scheme.
Yeah.
To make your extra $10 a person.
You assholes.
Yeah.
So
I wonder. Here's what I wonder: do they actually pay the actors for making two movies?
I think they have to. Okay, if it's going to be two productions, they have to.
Because
that's what they were talking about with like Avengers or something like that with Robert Downey Jr. They were talking about they were going to make an Avengers 3, and then they would think, well, maybe we'll split it. But no, they have to be they have to be upfront with the actor and say, no, it's
with
going
the
to be
unions and stuff.
Because I think they ran into that with The Hobbit.
Yeah,
that since they made it 3 movies, they had to pay them again.
They at least probably make a lot of. They probably save a lot, given that they film it all at one time.
Probably,
to get everyone back together. Probably, the sets are there.
And why,
but again, we're talking about something that doesn't need to be two movies, so that's irrelevant.
And why a year? Why are they making people wait a year? That's stupid.
It's already there. This movie
should be ready in the summer. I mean, that's what Harry Potter did. So that's what I liked about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like I think between two of the movies they made, I think maybe between 6 and the first part of 7, they made people wait longer. But then the wait between parts 1 and 2 was very short.
Deathly Hallows.
Yeah, it was very short. It was like
it was very short. Yeah, it was
like the fall, and then it was summer.
Fall.
It was like November and July. I think it was.
It sure was. But yeah, I don't know why a year's when you already got it in the bucket.
Yeah,
just ready to reel it up.
Apparently, the guy's going to start editing it. Working on editing it after Thanksgiving. It's like, really, it's going to take you until November? Really? I doubt that.
So we recommend Hunger Games if you're like.
Yeah, I mean,
series. It is a fine movie. It's just it feels like it's missing, just like the other one, just like the last one.
To me, they never did better than the first one. I mean, because the first one it felt fresh, it was interesting, it was good, and then the second one just felt like more of the same, and this one just felt like
that's the one thing this had on the second one is at least the atmosphere was different because they're completely out of the arena.
Right.
So that was nice.
So let's talk about a movie that we probably would plunk down another $10 to see. And that is Whiplash. This was a movie that we were looking forward to for a while since we saw the first trailers for it. It's written and directed by Damien Chazelle, and it stars Miles Teller, who is going to be Mr. Fantastic.
He is Mr. Fantastic in this movie.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is. Probably not in the Fantastic Four, but Teller plays Andrew Neiman, who
he could actually probably drum faster if he was like Mr.
Yes, he probably could. He probably could. Who is a jazz drummer at a prestigious music academy, and he is practicing his drumming one day, and the top teacher, Terrence Fletcher, played by J.K. Simmons, hears him, comes in, critiques him, and then yanks him into his studio jazz band, and then proceeds to physically and psychologically torture the hell out of this kid. And it is awesome.
It is so good. J.K. Simmons is
amazing. If he doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, that's highway robbery. Yeah. He is fantastic in this movie.
He's put in his dues as that guy and being a character actor, but I wasn't even sure if he could do a lead. But this,
I didn't have any doubt that he could do it, but
this proved it.
But the other thing is too is that he is a fantastic villain in this, devious, very devious. But then people forget, I think, because he's been doing a lot of nice guy roles lately. People forget he was Vern Schillinger on freaking Oz, and that guy was evil. Yeah. He was a sadist and a Nazi. So it's like. So people forget that he can definitely channel darkness, and he's excellent in this movie. We don't want to go into too much of the plot because it's really, you don't want to spoil it. You don't want to,
No, so it's just Miles Teller. It's his dream to become
one of the
great jazz greats.
Right.
So he's focusing all his time and attention into that. I mean, that's what he's in school to do. And J.K. Simmons is the best teacher around kind of thing.
Yeah.
Who takes his studio sessions very seriously.
Oh my God.
And he's a drill sergeant. He's a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
For the studio band.
Yeah, for sure.
And the story goes from there as following Teller on his path towards greatness.
And their battle of wills that takes place.
The fucking creepiest thing to me is I don't think this is giving too much away. So when he first, not the very first introduction, but on the first day he's in the band, he kind of takes Teller outside, like trying to have a heart to heart with him. Like, you think this guy's not gonna be so bad? He's like, tell me about yourself, and he tells him, well, my mom left when I was young, so I'm raised by my dad, and Teller's like, J.K. Simmons is like, well, you know what? It's good to have you here. And then within 5 minutes of them coming back in the studio, he's in his face going, you can't even jump. Is that why your mama left you? Are you going to cry now? Is that why mama left? And I'm going, oh my God.
He instantly uses it against him.
It's the best thing I've ever seen.
He is sadistic in this movie. And it's just really, really intense. It's just a really intense movie. Really great. Miles Teller does a great job. I don't know how much of the actual drumming he did in it, but I mean, even if he did a little bit of it, it was
Someone
great.
said that he is an actual drummer. Was it? I think our friend said that he was.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But this is one to see, folks. I mean, this is at the top of the list for the year.
Yeah, for me, as of right now, it's the best movie of the year.
Number one
for me. Yeah.
It's hard to argue that.
It's up there with Grand Budapest Hotel.
This is a fantastic movie. Firing on all cylinders in terms of acting and story.
The only minor quibble I had with it was that I felt that there is a girl, there's a romantic subplot. I felt that was underdeveloped. I think that could have been developed a little bit more, even with just a slight wrinkle in their relationship. If they because she's a girl that works at the movie theater that he and his father go to see movies at. And he gets up the gumption because he's a loner. He's a real loner. And he gets up the gumption. He asks her out, and that's great. But I almost felt like it would have worked better if she had been like his high school sweetheart.
Sure.
And then it shows how much he's giving up.
Or at least if they had shown that he put a year or two into the relationship.
Yeah, because
you get the feeling that we're talking just a weeks here.
Yeah.
And then it's like.
And right. It didn't feel like
okay, well. Yeah. That doesn't feel like he gave up that much.
Right.
But I think the idea was to show that he had no friends and this was his only social... He was giving up literally his only social connection.
Right.
To continue on.
Yeah.
My big problem with this movie was that there was only one dad.
Yeah. There's a Paul Reiser
What I did
sighting.
there?
There's a Paul Reiser sighting in this. He plays Teller's father.
He did really good.
He was good, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Paul Reiser's
He
good.
is good.
I mean,
yeah,
he's a good
that's
actor.
true. I just mean he's not. You
Yeah.
don't see him anymore.
Yeah, so it was. Everybody is really, really good in this movie,
Yeah.
but the movie belongs to Teller and Simmons.
Oh God,
and,
yeah.
I mean, Simmons is so.
I really appreciated Paul Reiser doing a real understated role.
Yeah, he was
as
understated.
the
Yeah,
dad, you know, he was the, you know, the classic non-confrontational dad that just wants to help his son out.
Yeah.
But man, I mean the last scene in this movie is brilliant.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Oh, he's great. Great. The title comes from a musical track called Whiplash.
Oh brother, here we go.
Which was composed by Hank Levy and played at the beginning of the
And Doug won't
episode.
stop playing it.
No, that's not true.
You just admitted you played it at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, it's a good track.
It is absolutely a good track. It's just not my taste to listen to.
Well, yeah, you're not. You remind me of me when we were talking about Llewellyn Davis last year, when I was like, "Yeah, I hate folk music," so it's like that might have colored my opinion of this movie a little bit.
Yeah.
But
with this movie, that it's about the music, but that doesn't take over the story. This is about the story,
right? Yeah, and but the soundtrack's pretty dynamic. In this, it's for some of it doesn't seem like they're doing much, but when you see what actually goes into it, it's pretty amazing. And the other thing is
all
too.
I assume it's all jazz.
Well, no, it's the soundtrack is both. It's
so it's got the score.
It's got the score and mixed in with the jazz numbers that the band plays. However, there have been apparently. I mean, it's getting pretty much universal acclaim. This movie. If you
rightfully so.
Yeah, you're rightfully so. If you look at the poster, it's just loaded with like comments from critics and stuff like that. But there are some.
To be fair, that's any poster.
Oh no! But what I mean is, I mean the whole thing is just you're
never
praise.
You're never see an actual movie poster that says this movie is mediocre.
Well, that's just beyond some of them,
right?
But no, it's you made me lose my train of thought. I hate you. So So, but there are some critics that are coming in that are like, oh, this isn't really how music school is. And this isn't really how jazz is. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Was it Entertainment Weekly that had?
Oh, I don't know.
There was a one review I read, partial review I read, and the guy was like, the biggest problem with this movie. He gave the movie like a C for God's sake. The biggest problem with this movie is that they make the audience feel like this is the way that all music teachers are, and
it's like no. I never felt that for one minute.
Not at all. You get the feeling this is the one guy who has taken it upon himself to believe that the only way to teach kids or the only way to really find greatness in true talent is through agony and pain.
Right. And because there is another teacher who works at the school with him, and he seems like a normal dude.
Exactly right.
So it's like no, nobody really thinks that. You just think that because you got
maybe you had a bad high school marching band story.
Maybe he's got a bug up his ass. Is what he got.
Anyway,
but definitely
great movie.
If you can find it before The Hunger Games eats up every single screening space, check out Whiplash. It is fantastic.
I think you showed me. It was down to like 2 screens already.
Oh yeah, it was down for like one of the theaters we go to. It's like down to 1, and then it's 2 at the other one. And the other one, the one that's down to 2, that's like. That place shows blockbusters, but it's really kind of like the bigger indie theater, right. And it's like even there, and I'm like, really? It's like, come on.
Yeah, I beg you to go see this movie and give it its due.
It's definitely going to be in contention when Oscar season comes around for sure. It's fantastic. Another movie that I think had high hopes, and definitely had a lot of hype behind it as far as Oscars and awards go, is the writing and directorial debut of The Daily Show's Jon Stewart, and that is Rosewater, which we also saw. Rosewater tells the true story of 5 people living in a loft. No, it tells the true story of Iranian-Canadian journalist Maziar Bahari, who in this movie is played by Gael Garcia Bernal, and how he went to cover the Iranian elections in 2009 and then was subsequently arrested for being a suspected spy. and then he was held in solitary confinement.
Up to 4 months. Or something,
yeah, for 118 days, and it basically tells the story of his ordeal there. It's a very interesting story. For me, though, it wasn't very engaging story.
It wasn't quite as impactful as you might think.
And I think it's because this story, this story took place during the information age. This is, this was the whole Green Revolution in Iran and all that kind of stuff, and the Green Movement. If you remember that from 5 years ago. And because it took place during the information age, his story was very well publicized. You know how it's going to end. And also, at the start of the movie, when he first gets captured, I should say, when he first gets arrested, they basically say, yeah, don't fuck him up too bad because he's got to go on TV.
The first thing they say is, don't physically torture this guy.
And because they want to use him as a propaganda tool, much like Katniss Everdeen. They want to use him as a propaganda tool. And so they say, yeah, don't mess him up. Don't mess up his face. And they proceed to not to. Now, of course, they do psychologically torture him. And he's in solitary confinement, which, of course, is its own...
fuck you up on his own.
That's on its own slice of hell. But I almost felt like I was a little bit more interested. I wanted to know more about his friend, the taxi driver who got captured,
who was still there when he left.
Who was still there when he left, because we don't know what his fate is. I almost felt like that would have been a more engaging story.
Mm-hmm. But I think that was the idea to at the end, to show you this isn't over. There are people left behind here.
But the other thing about it too is that it is a drama, but in some ways Jon Stewart was almost the perfect person to do this, because what it really shows is the absurdity of Iran's the way they do things.
Yeah.
They're like they were asking him like ridiculous questions that, like, as an American audience, you're like, what? Like when they ask him who Anton Chekhov is. Like,
you see that in the trailer, right?
Right.
He's like, the playwright Anton Chekhov. He's like, you tell me, you have
have him on your Facebook.
Him on your Facebook is interested.
So like and you're just like, is this really happening? Like, and apparently, because it came straight from Bahari's memoir,
right?
And this is what really happened.
Yeah,
and
but
it goes beyond even that. Like, there comes a point in the movie where he decides he's going to toy with them, and kind of make them think he's giving them what they want, and he just, he takes this guy down the fucking rabbit hole, and the guy's like, really? Tell me more, tell me more. And he's just like...
So he uses their
ignorance.
Jaded sense of sexuality against them. Telling them that he's going to New Jersey to get like lap dances and have...
Oh no! It was but it was the massage. It was the massage.
The massages. That's what it was. Massages. And this guy was basically like leaning in, going, "Tell me more." About these massages. And then the absurdity though, like they play that up with the actual real Daily Show interview that they did, where he's being interviewed by Jason Jones. Jason Jones is acting like an American spy who is interviewing this other spy, like they're having this spy to spy conversation, and the Iranian government
use that against
the Iranian government's like, you say you're a spy. Why are you talking to an American spy? He's like, it's a comedy show.
Yeah, it's like,
he says, why would the Americans put a spy on TV?
Yeah, and part of the reason why Jon Stewart did this movie is because he felt guilty.
Right.
He felt guilty about what happened to this guy because, his show, Bahari's participation...
That wasn't the reason he was imprisoned, but they used it against him.
Right. But Jon Stewart, it was... his show played a part in him getting in trouble, and so Jon Stewart felt guilty about it. So it led him to make this movie, and it's really good. It's a very good movie. It's a solid movie.
It is solid, yeah.
But at the same time, I thought there was going to be I thought it was going to be a little bit more uplifting, and I didn't really feel that.
Yeah, I felt the exact same way. I don't know if it's because you don't fully get the sense that he's ever in real danger,
right?
Or it's only 4 months,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's you don't ever feel fully engaged with the character,
Yeah.
and I don't really know that it's not really a directing thing, and you can't necessarily fault the story because it's real life. This
Right.
is what happened, so
Right.
I do believe that Stewart was trying to be as true to form with what
Oh, of
actually
course.
happened,
Yeah.
as he could.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I
he's had
don't.
this guy in his show for Christ's sake.
Right,
You know?
right.
It's
So,
like,
well, what I'm saying is, I don't think he dramatized it anymore,
Right.
any more than what actually,
Right.
what Mahari said actually happened.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth a watch. But there are better films out there right now. Like we said, Whiplash. You know, if you're gonna choose, I go see Whiplash 100%.
Every time I'd go see it
But-
twice before.
But I thought, you know, for a guy who on the Daily Show constantly harps about his total lack of acting talent, stuff like that, I thought it was a solid first effort for Jon Stewart. You know, I'd like to see him do something else, honestly.
Yeah, he did it's a good effort for him,
Yeah,
for sure.
but it
deserves it deserves the support.
Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty good, but there was just something missing about it. The supporting cast is really good. The guys who play the Iranian guys, his tormentor is played by Kim Bodnia, and he knows him basically as Rosewater because he's apparently
he smells like
Rosewater.
He takes on which it's very subtle how they use that.
Right.
The opening sequence shows how they're making this fragrance from Rosewater, and then I think that in the book that probably translates heavier than.
I think in the book they actually call him Rosewater because they really never give him a name.
Right. So he's just because he's always blindfolded.
Right.
Mazahar.
Yeah, Bahari.
Yeah. And so it's the sense that he picks up on the guy.
Right.
It's Rosewater smell.
Right. And he's in the beginning. He's like, you know, I used to love that smell, and you know,
and
then
now
it's ruined because
yeah.
But
so that was a decent job by Stewart. But now why don't we turn to a movie that's literally horrible?
Yeah, I guess title wise at least.
We're talking about Horrible Bosses 2, and this is an early review.
Depending on when this goes online, because it comes out. As we're recording this, it comes out this Wednesday.
Right,
because Thanksgiving. Yeah, it comes out on Wednesday.
You better get to it.
Do you know how late that Interstellar episode was? Come on, man. We're like, it's an early review of Dumb and Dumber 2. It's already been out for 2 weeks. Sorry, everybody. I have a life. I'm sorry.
So Horrible Bosses 2 is actually a pretty decent movie. It's
I thought so,
really
too.
Funny.
It's getting terrible reviews, but
it's too bad. It's because I constantly laughed at this movie. Actually, to be fair, I remember laughing in the first one too, but this one just feels better.
The crime is better.
Yes,
the crime is better because in the first movie, I laughed at the first movie too. But my biggest complaint with the movie was there's 3 horrible bosses, but really only one of them deserves to be murdered.
Yeah.
This one, a little bit different.
Yeah. So, Horrible Bosses 2 picks up X years in the future from the first one. I don't know that they give a specific time frame. I mean, it's probably just present day. It's probably just
it was a couple years, anywhere from like 6 months to a couple years.
Yeah. So it follows the same 3 guys. So you got Jason Bateman as Nick, Jason Sudeikis as Kurt, and Charlie Day as Dale. And
he's so fucking dumb.
We're talking about Nick Cradell.
Yeah.
They use that joke in it where they're on like a talk show promoting this new invention that they have.
Right.
And and this invention is brought to you by our company, Nick Cradell. and the guy from Key and Peele is on there.
Keegan. Yeah.
Keegan Michael Key, and he's like, coming in?
Yeah.
So this movie follows them. They're basically they have this new invention called the
shower buddy.
The shower buddy, and it's
we were going to call it the shower dad. Why would your dad be in the shower?
Why would your dad be in the shower with you? Why would your buddy be in the shower? So it's kind of this all-in-one shower head that will dispense, shampoo and as you need it. Anyway, they have this invention that they're plugging so that they never have to work for anyone again. All right. Well, they have a meeting with the head of a large company, consider it like Brookstone.
Yeah,
It was the
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Who was going to who offered to buy the rights for this from them.
100,000 units.
To which they said, no, we want to manufacture
Right,
these units.
right.
So they kind of negotiated out this deal where they would manufacture 100,000 units, and this
They would be
company,
the exclusive distributor.
this company would exclusively distribute these units. The company screws them. The company's head, played by Christoph Waltz, who was just seemed to be pretty much phoned it in here. He was fine, but you know, and his son is Chris Pine.
And I got to be honest, looking at the poster, you look at them, you're like, I can see that. I can see him being his son. Yeah, I can see that.
So they screw these three guys by saying that
they steal the idea.
Yeah, they say we're not going to buy your 100,000 units anymore. We're just going to let you default on your loan, and then we'll buy them up at pennies on the dollar, and repackage it as the Shower Pal.
That's even a better name.
That's even a better name.
Better name.
So obviously at this point the three guys are pissed, and they decide, well, we'll take this into our own hands. We've done this before.
Yeah.
Let's go
to much success.
Let's go talk to our old pal MF.
Yeah.
Played by Jamie Foxx, and get some ideas.
Motherfucker Jones.
Yeah. So they go on. They go to kidnap
the son, Chris Pine.
Chris Pine, and they're going to hold him for ransom. The plan goes to shit, and then then Chris Pine gets in on it and says, "Hey, I'll get in on this with you guys.
So we can screw my dad.
We will completely screw my dad. It's going to be much easier because I'm in on it with you."
Right.
And the movie kind of goes from there.
Hilarity ensues, and
it really does ensue. I mean, it's they have a great sequence where they're all coming up with ideas.
Oh, yeah.
They're all sitting behind. They got a drawing board, a dry eraser board, and coming up with ideas. It's great. It's so funny. These three guys, the chemistry between these three guys is
they do have great chemistry. They do have great chemistry. Jennifer Aniston also shows up again,
playing that dirty,
delicious
lady.
whore that she is, and she's really good in this, which is it's not common that I can say that about Jennifer Aniston in a movie.
Kevin Spacey reprises his role.
Kevin Spacey has a cameo. Colin Farrell does not, because spoiler alert, he died in the last movie.
He did.
So you've got they do have great chemistry. I thought Chris Pine was a good addition to the cast. I thought Christoph Waltz was good as
yeah. Oh yeah, there was nothing wrong with him. It's just when you see all these other things that he's done that are so brilliant.
Right.
This is just
this is no Django Unchained.
Right.
The only problem, and I laughed a lot at this, and like I said, I liked it a lot better than the first one. My biggest issue with it though is that some of the comedy was a little predictable. Like for instance, when they're doing the demonstration on the talk show, I'm like, okay, now this is gonna happen. All right, now this is gonna happen. Now this is gonna happen. It's still funny. It's still funny to see it happen on the screen.
It doesn't fully detract.
It's very predictable.
Sure, it's a lot of it is a little paint by numbers.
Yeah, but again, it's that weird thing with comedies. It's like, how do you grade it? Do you grade it on how funny it is, or do you grade it on how
execution was pitch perfect?
Yeah.
These three guys executed everything wonderfully, and they hit all the notes. Their timing is great.
Right.
I really like these three guys together.
Yeah.
The first one was, for me, it was decent. I know you didn't like it pretty much at all. Well,
no, it's like I said, I laughed at it, but it's just like overall, I was just like,
this is one of those sequels that didn't need to be made, but I'm happy it was. It brought enjoyment to an otherwise bland day.
Yeah, I felt like this should have been the first one, basically.
Yeah,
but because I felt the crime worked a lot better in this one. The kidnapping works better than let's just jump straight to murder. It's like it's like, really, wow, okay. How about just financially ruin your bosses? It's like, how about that? It's
anything other than murder. There are many steps you can go through.
Yeah. Catch him with a hooker, something like that. But no, let's murder this guy. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a very, very funny movie. It's definitely worth a watch. I mean, even if you wait for it to come on cable, but I mean, there's but there's not.
Yeah, I'd pay $10 to see this one though.
Yeah,
but I definitely.
But we don't have to.
We saw it for free.
I guess I would have to say I thought it was funnier, I guess, than Dumb and Dumber 2, I guess. So those are the two big comedies that are going to be out there.
Yeah, it is funnier than.
I laughed more at this one.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just in that aspect, it's just kind of fresher comedy, I think.
Because like we said, Dumb and Dumber 2 felt like more like a throwback '90s film almost, which comes with its pluses and its minuses.
Right. That's it's what you'd expect from Dumb and Dumber, really. But this is of the two. This is the outright funnier movie as far as laughs.
But so I guess go see Hunger Games if you're gonna go see it.
I mean, dude, we don't need to tell you. Everyone is going to go see Hunger Games.
Rosewater is something you probably want to check out.
Yeah, especially if you don't know the story,
right?
And you appreciate
great acting. There's a lot of great acting in it.
A lot of this almost feels documentary-esque.
A little bit.
That's one thing I didn't bring up when we were reviewing that one, is that a lot of it felt almost too much like a history lesson. The way the narrative kind of ran, and yes, in some way it needed to be, because you've got to let people know what's happening, but it almost felt forced in some areas. So, but no, it's worth checking out. But the big one,
if you want to laugh, go see Horrible Bosses 2,
and if you want to see a fucking spectacular movie,
go see Whiplash.
Whiplash
all the way.
Yeah.
FTW, as the kids say.
Yeah. I'll bet you Mr. McCann would like Whiplash.
Yes.
Shout out.
Yeah. Definitely check that out. See, now you're doing it too. See, now it's in your head now. It's like an earworm.
I'm not going to go listen to it in my car.
Yeah, you will.
I won't.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. That'll do it for this episode of the Hodgepodge Podcast. Next episode, not really sure. I mean, we're gonna go see the Stephen Hawking movie.
Theory of Everything
coming up.
We've got a screening of that tomorrow.
But there's a lot of movies.
I'll bring the tissue.
Yes, I'm sure that we're gonna be. But there's a lot of movies that are coming, but I can't think of what's coming out before The Hobbit. Honestly, The Hobbit comes out on December 17th.
Yeah, that's certainly the next.
Big one.
I
mean, I would say Inherent Vice, but we're not going to be able to see that until January, which pisses me off.
Yeah, that'll be January.
But so we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll change up. Maybe we'll change it up for the Hodgepodge Podcast.
Maybe a music or TV.
Perhaps.
Episode.
But
or maybe we just say fuck it. We'll see you guys in mid-December.
Or we can talk about a certain book that's coming out in the beginning of December.
Book.
It's my book.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm getting the proof this week. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's wrong with it. But yeah, we will.
I already know what's wrong with it. You wrote it.
Thanks. With friends like these, who needs J.K. Simmons?
We can just edit that out. We can just.
No, I'm going to leave it in there, and everyone's going to see how a horrible person you are.
I am a very horrible person. I'm a horrible person who will buy like 10 copies of your book.
You better. And we'll see you next time, everybody.
Take care.